A foldable iPhone isn't just some far-off idea anymore. It's starting to feel real. Early dummy units have already started popping up, and a recent hands-on video from Max Tech gives a better look at what Apple is working on behind the scenes. From what's been shown so far, the phone opens up to a 7.8-inch inner display. That puts it pretty close to the size of an iPad mini, which comes in at 8.3 inches. The shape of the screen is also similar, using a 4:3 aspect ratio. So instead of that tall, narrow look you see on a lot of foldables today, this one feels more like a small tablet when you open it. In real use, the size difference between this and the iPad mini probably wouldn't feel like much. When you fold it shut, the outer screen is expected to be around 5.3 to 5.5 inches. That's smaller than most phones out right now, even smaller than something like the iPhone 13 mini. Because of that, it'll likely feel quite compact in the hand, especially if you're used to bigger phones. But on the flip side, it should be easier to use with one hand, which some people might actually prefer. Looking at size comparisons, when the device is placed next to an iPhone 17 Pro Max in landscape, the width looks pretty similar. The main difference shows up in the height, where the foldable seems noticeably taller. That extra height could give you more room for things like watching videos, playing games, or just scrolling through apps without making the screen feel squeezed. The design also does a few things differently compared to regular iPhones. There's no Face ID here. Instead, Apple seems to be going with Touch ID built into the power button. There's also a separate camera control button, and the volume buttons are moved up to the top edge, similar to what you'd find on the iPad mini. All of this feels like it's meant to make the phone easier to use in different positions, whether it's folded or open. On the back, there's a raised camera module with two lenses. That likely means it won't try to match the full camera setup you get on the Pro Max iPhones. Instead, it looks like Apple is putting more focus on the foldable experience itself rather than going all in on cameras. Thickness is another interesting detail. The dummy unit comes in at around 11 millimeters when folded. Some reports say the final version could be a bit slimmer, maybe around 9 to 9.5 millimeters. When opened up, it could be as thin as 4.5 millimeters, which would be quite slim compared to other foldables out there. As for when it might launch, current info points to around September. It could arrive alongside the next Pro iPhones, possibly the iPhone 18 Pro models. Those are expected to stick pretty close to the current design, with smaller tweaks like a slightly reduced dynamic island and minor camera updates. Overall, this foldable iPhone looks like it's going in its own direction. A tablet-like inner display, a smaller outer display, Touch ID instead of Face ID, and a simpler camera setup. It doesn't seem like Apple is trying to copy what other foldables are doing, but rather stick to its usual approach when it comes to design and usability. The big question now is how people will feel about the trade-offs. That smaller outer display, in particular, might not work for everyone, even if the larger inner display ends up being more useful. With that said, do consider subscribing to the channel for daily tech updates, and don't forget to turn on post notifications, and I'll see you guys on the next one.